काङ्क्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवताः क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा.
Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. There is a great misconception about the gods or demigods of this material world, and men of less intelligence, although passing as great scholars, take these demigods to be various forms of the Supreme Lord. Actually, the demigods are not different forms of God, but they are God's different parts and parcels. God is one, and the parts and parcels are many. The Vedas say, Nityo Nityam, God is one. Isvara Parama Krishna, the supreme God is one, Krishna, and the demigods are delegated with powers to manage this material world. These demigods are all living entities, Nityam, with different grades of material power. They cannot be equal to the supreme God, Narayana, Vishnu, or Krishna. Anyone who thinks that God and the demigods are on the same level is called an atheist or a pasandi. Even the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva cannot be compared to the Supreme Lord. In fact, the Lord is worshipped by demigods such as Brahma and Shiva Varinsi Nityam. Yet curiously enough, there are many human leaders who are worshipped by foolish men under the misunderstanding of anthropomorphism or zoomorphism. Iha Devata denotes a powerful man or demigod of this material world. But Narayana, Vishnu, or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, does not belong to this world. He is above or transcendental to material creation. Even Sripada Sankaracharya, the leader of the impersonalists, maintained that Narayana or Krishna is beyond this material creation. However, foolish people, Hit Anjana, worship the demigods because they want immediate results. They get the results, but do not know that results so obtained are temporary and are meant for less intelligent persons. The intelligent person is in Krishna consciousness, and he has no need to worship the paltry demigods for some immediate temporary benefit. The demigods of this material world, as well as their worshippers, will vanish with the annihilation of this material world. The boons of the demigods are material and temporary. Both the material world and their inhabitants, including the demigods and their worshippers, are bubbles in the cosmic ocean. In this world, however, human society is mad after temporary things such as the material opulence of possessing land, family, and enjoyable paraphernalia. To achieve such temporary things, they worship the demigods or powerful men in human society. If a man gets some ministership in the government by worshiping a political leader, he considers that he has achieved a great boon. All of them are therefore kowtowing to so-called leaders or big guns in order to achieve temporary boons, and they indeed achieve such things. Such foolish men are not interested in Krishna consciousness for the permanent solution to the hardships of material solution. Such foolish men are not interested in Krishna consciousness for the permanent solution to the hardships of material existence. They are all after sense enjoyment, and to get a little facility for sense enjoyment, they are attracted to worship empowered living entities known as demigods. This verse indicates that people are rarely interested in Krishna consciousness. They are mostly interested in material enjoyment, and therefore they worship some powerful living entity.
चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टम् गुणकर्म विभागशः तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विद्यकर्तारमव्ययम्.
According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. The Lord is the creator of everything. Everything is born of him, everything is sustained by him, and everything, after annihilation, rests in him. He is therefore the creator of the four divisions of the social order, beginning with the intelligent class of men, technically the Brahmanas, due to their being situated in the mode of goodness. Next is the administrative class, technically called the Kshatriyas, due to their being situated in the mode of passion. The mercantile men, called the Vaisyas, are situated in the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, and the Sudras, or laborer class, are situated in the ignorant mode of material nature. In spite of his creating the four divisions of human society, Lord Krishna does not belong to any of these divisions because he is not one of the conditioned souls, a section of whom form human society. Human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate men from the animal status, the above-mentioned divisions are created by the Lord for his systematic development of Krishna consciousness. The tendency of a particular man toward work is determined by the modes of material nature which he has acquired. Such symptoms of life, according to the different modes of material nature, are described in the 18th chapter of this book. A person in Krishna consciousness, however, is about even with the Brahmanas, because a Brahmana by quality is supposed to know about Brahman, the supreme absolute truth. Most of them approach the impersonal Brahman manifestation of Lord Krishna, but only a man who transcends the limited knowledge of a Brahmana and reaches the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, becomes a person in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, a Vaisnava. Krishna consciousness includes knowledge of all different plenary expansions of Krishna, namely Rama, Narasimha, Varaha, etc. However, as Krishna is transcendental to the system of the four divisions of human society, a person in Krishna consciousness is also transcendental to all divisions of human society, whether we consider divisions of community, nation, or species.
न मां कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्मफले स्पृहा इति मां योऽभिजानाति कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते.
There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. As there are no constitutional laws in the material world stating that the king can do no wrong, or that the king is not subject to the state laws, similarly, the Lord, although he is the creator of this material world, is not affected by the activities of the material world. He creates and remains aloof from the creation, whereas the living entities are entangled in the fruitive results of the material activities because of their propensity for lording it over material resources. The proprietor of an establishment is not responsible for the right and wrong activities of the workers, but the workers are themselves responsible. The living entities are engaged in their respective activities of sense gratification, and these activities are not ordained by the Lord. For advancement of sense gratification, the living entities are engaged in the work of this world, and they aspire to heavenly happiness after death. The heavenly demigods are only his engaged servants. The proprietor never desires the low-grade happiness such as the workers may desire. He is aloof from the material actions and reactions. For example, the rains are not responsible for different types of vegetation that appear on the earth, although without such rains, there is no possibility of vegetative growth. Vedic Smriti confirms this fact as follows. Nimitta matram evasu Shri Yanam Sarga Karmani Pradana Karani Bhuta Yato Vai Shriya Saktaya. In the material creations, the Lord is only the supreme cause. The immediate cause is material nature by which the cosmic manifestation is visible. The created beings are of many varieties, such as the demigods, human beings, and lower animals, and all of them are subject to the reactions of their past good or bad activities. The Lord only gives them proper facilities for such activities and the regulations of the modes of nature, but he is never responsible for their past and present activities. In the Vedanta Sutras, it is confirmed that the Lord is never partial to any living entity. The living entity is responsible for his own acts. The Lord only gives him facilities through the agency of material nature, the external energy. Anyone who is fully conversant with all the intricacies of this law of karma or fruitive activities does not become affected by the results of his activities. In other words, the person who understands this transcendental nature of the Lord is an experienced man in Krishna consciousness, and thus he is never subjected to the laws of karma. One who does not know the transcendental nature of the Lord and who thinks that the activities of the Lord are aimed at fruitive results are as the activities of the ordinary living entities. Certainly becomes entangled himself in fruitive reaction. But one who knows the supreme truth is a liberated soul fixed in Krishna consciousness.
एवं ज्ञात्वा कृतं कर्म पूर्वैरपि मुमुक्षुभिः कुरु कर्मैव तस्मात् त्वं पूर्वैः पूर्वतरं कृतम्.
All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding and so attained liberation. Therefore, as the ancients, you should perform your duty in this divine consciousness. There are two classes of men. Some of them are full of polluted material things within their hearts, and some of them are materially free. Krishna consciousness is equally beneficial for both of these persons. Those who are full of dirty things can take to the line of Krishna consciousness for a gradual cleansing process, following the regulative principles of devotional service. Those who are already cleansed of the impurities may continue to act in the same Krishna consciousness so that others may follow their exemplary activities and therefore be benefited. Foolish persons or neophytes in Krishna consciousness often want to retire from activities without having knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Arjuna's desire to retire from activities on the battlefield was not approved by the Lord. One need only know how to act. To retire from the activities of Krishna consciousness and to sit aloof, making a show of Krishna consciousness, is less important than actually engaging in the field of activities for the sake of Krishna. Arjuna is here advised to act in Krishna consciousness, following in the footsteps of the Lord's previous disciples, such as the sun god Vivasvan, as mentioned here and before. The Supreme Lord knows all his past activities, as well as those persons who acted in Krishna consciousness in the past. Therefore, he recommends the acts of the sun god, who learned this art from the Lord some millions of years before. All such students of Lord Krishna are mentioned here as past liberated persons engaged in the discharge of duties allotted by Krishna. I'll read one more.
किं कर्म किमकर्मेति कवयोऽप्यत्र मोहिताः तत्ते कर्म प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्.
Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all sins. Action in Krishna consciousness has to be executed in accord with the examples of previous bona fide devotees. This is recommended in the 15th verse. Why such action should not be independent will be explained in the text to follow. To act in Krishna consciousness, one has to follow the leadership of authorized persons who are in line of the disciplic succession, as explained in the beginning of this chapter. The system of Krishna consciousness was first narrated to the sun god. The sun god explained it to his son Manu. Manu explained it to his son Ikshvaku, and the system is current on this earth from that very remote time. Therefore, one has to follow in the footsteps of previous authorities in the line of disciplic succession. Otherwise, even the most intelligent men will be bewildered regarding the standard actions of Krishna consciousness. For this reason, the Lord decided to instruct Arjuna in Krishna consciousness directly. Because the direct instruction of the Lord to Arjuna, anyone who follows in the footsteps of Arjuna is certainly not bewildered. It is said that one cannot ascertain the ways of religion simply by imperfect experimental knowledge. Actually, the principles of religion can only be laid down by the Lord himself. Dharman hai saksat Bhagavat pranatam. No one can manufacture a religious principle by imperfect speculation. One must follow in the footsteps of great authorities like Brahma, Siva, Narada, Manu, Kumara, Kapila, Prahlada, Bhishma, Sukadeva, Kusmavi, Yamaraja, Janaka, etc. By mental speculation, one cannot ascertain what is religion or self-realization. Therefore, out of causeless mercy to his devotees, the Lord explains directly to Arjuna what action is and what inaction is. Only action performed in Krishna consciousness can deliver a person from the entanglement of material existence. So this idea of karma and action is so interesting to me because I know I've shared this before, but when I was in teacher training, one of the first things we learned were the different paths of yoga, which are karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, which all lead to this idea of Raja yoga. And so bhakti is the devotion, yoga of devotion, jnana is the yoga of wisdom, and karma is the yoga of action. And I was like, I felt like most people felt like they fell under the yoga, the Jnana yoga, the yoga of wisdom. And I know that's where Amanda feels like her path is. Like those are the people that ask a lot of questions and are just like always wanting to learn. But I felt like I'm more under the karma yoga, but I've never, and I know this is like the bhakti version of the Gita, but my karma has never, I've never thought of it, my actions, as like a devotional thing I'm doing. It's always been more material, like not what can I get out of it, but it makes me feel good to do things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
now I feel like I have to go, I have to look at this in a different, and I like, especially with my volunteer projects, I have shifted a little bit in my thoughts for it.
How have you shifted?
How have I shifted? Well, actually, when I first started volunteering, it's got to be like 7 years ago now, I went overboard. It was too much because I was volunteering because I was grieving my mother's death, but I was also re-grieving my sister's death.
Yes.
And Eric's mom had died 6 months before my mom had died. So, and I didn't really know her that well. So I was using volunteering as a therapy, and much better than using alcohol or drugs. So I'm not mad I was doing it, but I was spreading myself way too thin.
Yeah.
And I wasn't focusing on like one. I do a lot of volunteering still, but now I do it with specific orgs, and I don't say yes to everything. I pick and choose. And now I know when I'm going overboard to pause and be like, what is going on in my life? Because what am I trying to hide? So I'm not always volunteering for the sake of volunteering for the community. Sometimes I'm volunteering to make myself feel better. And I think that's fair, but I think that's what the Gita is teaching me, is that yes, it's okay to act on things, but I still think it's still a good thing to do volunteer service. I'm not saying I think I should stop volunteering. I can see what they're saying as far as the fruitive activities behind doing things. Because are you doing it? And I don't do volunteer service. Like I'm not doing it I don't need to be in the newspaper. I don't need awards for it. But there is still something I need from it, even though I'm not telling people, even though I'm not being like celebrated like a celebrity over it. There's still something you need from it. And I think that's the whole idea about the fruitive results from karma. So that's how I felt I've changed. But it's nice to be that aware. Like I used to do stuff all year round. My house was always collecting stuff, and then I'm like, this was not enjoyable to me. And I finally paused, and I had to like revise the whole thing. And usually from January to March, I don't do much volunteering because this is my reset time. This is like my recharge time.
Isn't there something about, and I won't say this very clearly because it just dawned on me, but there's something that comes up in this book that just says to me, there is no way you can live on this material world without somehow being caught up to some degree in action for fruitive purposes.
I think even because I was reading this, I'm like, even not wanting fruitive is wanting something, you know,
Yes.
like, and I went back to like what I was hearing Jackie in my head during it when we were reading the sutras, and she's like, even wanting liberation is wanting something.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So like, and it's like these stories were told. I mean, the world we live in now is so material. Like it's almost impossible. We're taught from the second we're born. Maybe there's some areas that you don't have to be so, like the people that go live in the forest. I don't know. I don't know. And I feel like Jack, it's like, I don't want to be like that either, but it's nice to be aware of it, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Like, I have this rug in my house, and it's different because now I own a house and I rent a house here. So the house I own, I can change the hardwood floors and I can do, it's my house. But it's not even my house because really the bank owns it. I just think it's my house. But I rent a house here, and I'm in a room, and I'm in this room a lot, and I'm like, oh, these rugs are disgusting. Like, the rugs are just disgusting. They're ugly to me. But I don't want to push for new rugs yet. Like, anyway, so now when I'm sitting on the rug now, and one day I was looking at it. I think I was like laying on my yoga mat, and I'm like, there's this beautiful threading in the rug that you don't see unless you're up close to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this rug is, it's not, it was just like, it's still, it is a beautiful rug. I don't know why I was getting so worked up over it. And it's like, it's a mindset sometimes too, like what we're taught to think is good and bad and beautiful or not beautiful. Like, one day my mind decided this rug was ugly, but when I decided to like really look at it, I could tell myself it's not ugly, it's beautiful. It's serving its purpose. Like, so I was like, don't let it ruin your whole day every day. Like, just leave the rug as it is. That's just one example. Like, I can think of like not being materially attached to the rug. I had a hard time with material things. So my sister died. I think I might have shared this. I wasn't allowed in her room. So I wasn't allowed to see any of her items. And it took me a long time to get over that. And then after that experience, I definitely have become less material of a person because I realized from that experience that material items are really just nothing. Like, they're not who a person is. Even my own material items, just like whatever, just. And then I did the tidy project where I was able to like let go of a lot of things I was holding on to. But I think from those experiences, I was able to figure out the volunteer, and with help, Renata actually pointed it out to me, thankfully, with the volunteering. She's like, you're running from something. And then I was like, you're right.
It's so funny that you mentioned Renata because, and I know we don't have time, but I've only been to a couple of her classes and I love them because she cuts right to the chase. And I don't know if she's teaching anymore at Rev. I mean, I remember somewhere near the beginning of the pandemic, she kind of pulled out in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But she is one of those people who really gets through the whipped cream down to the strawberry, and
so
when
Renata,
this pandemic thing is over, if she comes back to the world somewhat, and I hope she does, I plan on looking that chick up.
yeah, she's on Facebook. You can friend her. She's been traveling. She's been to Hawaii. She spent a lot of the time of the pandemic traveling, and I think she spent a lot of months in Hawaii. I think she has her own website up and running. So I'll send you her Facebook page and her contact info. She's very open. She's still connected to Rev in the sense that I think she sometimes joins the Women's Moon Circle with Marlene.
Mm-hmm.
She's still engaged in the community, but I don't think she's specifically teaching yoga at any one studio right now, including
I just
Rev.
thought she would be another interesting person to study with.
Yeah, she is. I did an immersion weekend with her at Rev.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she did the yamas and the niyamas, and she did I can't remember, but it was pretty interesting, and it was nice. It was like it was, I think it was like Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and I think depending on the day, it was small. There was no more than 6 students there, so it was nice. And it was actually most of the people I knew, or it was one of those things like you're meant to be together, those type of situations, and like we all became like best friends immediately. Yeah, so that was a few years ago, like 3 years ago, maybe now.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing me up to date with her. And
yeah, I think she might even be going back to Hawaii. I feel like I saw that she might be going back. So, but I'll keep you up to date. But let's do some breath and yeah. So this reading this Gita with the karma is interesting to me.
yep.
I didn't meditate this weekend. I thought about it a few times, but I just couldn't get myself to do it. My brain has been like lasers everywhere. And I'm like, I don't feel like sitting still for 20 minutes. Although I probably could have used it.
Well, something I often have days like that. And I remember years ago when I was in Kelly's morning meditation thing, and I can remember that there'd be days where I'd be sitting there and I'd want to jump up and down or something. And it felt like, have you ever watched kids who are like 12 or 14 months old trying to crawl up on a couch and trying to get there, but they can't? I mean, they really struggle. They keep on trying. That's what I would feel like. It was kind of like, oh, well, keep on trying to climb up on that couch. All right.
I did go for a walk though, and I listened to an audiobook. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever listened to an audiobook, but it's the same as like listening to the Hare Krishna chant to me. You have to be so present when you're listening to an audiobook because your mind goes on one tangent. You got to rewind the book because you missed it.
Yeah, you just lost 3 paragraphs. Yes.
Yeah, so I feel like that was my meditation. I mean, and it was because I'm being present listening to my book. What else? It's concentration. So
okay.
that was my meditation yesterday. All right, so let's set up for alternate nostril breath. Taking a few breaths in through the nose, out through the nose. Bringing your right hand over to your nose. Closing the right nostril with the thumb. Inhale through the left. Close left with the ring finger. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Continuing on with your own breath, ending locks and retention if it's in your practice. When you feel ready, you'll exhale out through the left side. There's no rush. I'm going to set the timer and you'll start your meditation when you're ready. Bringing hands to your heart center. Namaste.